Postgame with head coach Shawn Liotta after an 81-7 win over the Western PA Sting. Well, Coach, we talked in our television pregame show about kind of the great unknown of what the Sting were going to bring, and your team offensively left off really, or picked up right where they left off last year, scoring 81 points in this game.
Yeah, I wasn't that pleased with it, though, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we left a lot of points out there. We missed a lot of throws, that I thought we could have made. But, our protection has to get better. And, you say all those things and you score 81 points and you kind of, I don't want to take away from what our guys did because our guys did a good job. They really did. But it comes down to we've got to get better. If we're going to beat some of these other teams in this league, that performance today on the offensive side of the ball is probably not going to be enough to get it done. Defensively, I was very pleased with how we played, but again, it's tough to gauge because I don't think up front they were very good. And in this game, if you're not good up front, you're going to struggle. They obviously had Rod come in, and he was able to do some things, but he was under constant, pressure, and I think that really limited what he was able to do.
Well, you forced 5 turnovers, and you got 2 defensive touchdowns. In fact, it ended up being 6 turnovers. You count the fumble at the end, so 6 turnovers, 2 defensive touchdowns as a unit.
And we didn't turn the ball over. So when you do that, you're going to win a lot of football games. So, if we can continue to do those kind of things, I think we're going to be right where we want to be in terms of, winning the division, winning, playoff games, and making our way to the championship.
Going back to the offensive side of the football, you said you were unhappy with some of the missed throws, but overall, Colton Hansen ends up with 8 touchdown passes. But the offensive line, a relatively new unit. Of course, you had Joe Blanks back this year, but working in Nick Chrisman and David McQuiston at center. Talk about their performance.
I have to see the tape. I mean, really, truthfully, I got to watch the film on those guys to really give a good gauge of how they did. I know first game out for some of those guys, they probably were knocking some rust off. But, we have to make sure that we are – I know the protection from what I saw is not what we need it to be. So we've got to work on that, and we've got to work. Some of it's Colt, maybe holding the ball a little too long. Other times when he gets the ball out on time, he did a great job, and our receivers did a good job running routes and getting open. And it's something that, hey, those guys have practiced for – 2 weeks, and this was even a short week, so really it wasn't even really a full 2 weeks of practice. A lot of the first live contact for a lot of these guys. So I'm not totally displeased. I'm happy. I'm never going to be displeased with an 81-7 win. But I thought truthfully we probably could have scored 100 easily, and we just left some points out there.
Last thing, Coach, the last couple of seasons you haven't been able to find the right fit kicking-wise until later on in the season. This year you get J.R. Cipra to come over, and it seems like that alleviates that problem completely with how consistent he has been throughout his career in the indoor game, and it's kind of nice now to have that luxury.
He's the best kicker in the league. I mean, he's down on himself. I think he doesn't think he played as well as he could have, but he's the best kicker in the league, and point blank, and we're happy to have him, and he'll continue to make those plays for us, when we need him to. And, when we're calling on him, there's going to be a time in the season we're going to have to call on him for some clutch, field goals or kicks. And, I wouldn't rather have anyone out there, with the game in his hands.
You hit the road next week at Johnstown before you head back here for 6 straight home games, which is something I don't think that has ever happened, at least in your tenure here. So let's talk about heading to the road next week for Johnstown, then coming back home for 6.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, we're going to Johnstown. I don't know what kind of team they have. I haven't seen film on them yet. I'll be looking forward to watching their film here this weekend. They played down in Cincinnati, which is a very good team. I know Johnstown's going to have a good team. If we play like we played today against Johnstown, we're not going to win the football game. Honestly, if we play like we played today against Johnstown, we're not going to win. We need to get better, to be able to beat those guys and, to continue with the, momentum I think that we need.
That's the head coach, Shawn Liotta, after an 81-7 win. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
A.J. Saunders, safety for the Erie Explosion. Big game in the secondary, 4 touchdowns and a 27-yard interception return for a touchdown is one of those interceptions. So talk about your performance. And it was an all-new secondary with you as the safety. So first talk about your individual performance.
I couldn't do it without my teammates. And you know what I'm saying? With my experience, I only played 1 year. I played in the IFL League. But with that bringing over to this team, I bring experience to the secondary, which I can help the secondary out. And as you can see today, my performance, I upheld it, you know what I mean? And then Shawn Liotta, Coach, he brought me in for a prime example, you know what I'm saying, to show these guys how to play, and that's what I did. So.
And you guys managed to make those plays with two different quarterbacks. You had Kersey, who started because of Rod Rutherford's late arrival. Then Rod Rutherford came in, and you guys picked him off 4 times and had 5 as a unit tonight.
Well, Rod, I mean, he's been through the system. He played here in Erie. He played everywhere. So I tip my hat to him. You know what I mean? I've never played against him before, but you know what I mean? I mean, he's an old guy. So, I mean, I just had to step up and do my part, you know what I'm saying, help the defense out, you know what I mean, held them to 7 points. And as for our offense, you know what I'm saying, they, kept scoring and kept doing what they had to do, you know what I mean. But on the defensive side of the ball, I think everybody played pretty well for the first game.
Well, an impressive performance for you and your teammates in the secondary, Enrique Shawn, Dominic Darden, your first game together. Hopefully this is signs of things to come.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's only for the first game. They played pretty good, you know what I'm saying, but since they're rookies, I still got to teach them, and, the coaches still got to teach them, and we just got to work the kinks out more. But I think next game, I think they'll step it up and be ready for Johnstown.
AJ, thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
AJ Saunders, 4 interceptions, 1 for a pick 6, with the 81-7 win for the Erie Explosion. We're here with Erie Explosion quarterback Colton Hansen. Colton, your first start after backing up DeMichael last year, and boy, what a start for you. 8 touchdown passes behind a relatively new offensive line as well, and a big-time win, 81-7 over the Sting.
Right. It was a good experience following Adam last year. Learn the system, learn the offense. It was easier to come in and know what to do right away, and our offensive line played really well today, and our receivers were always open. So.
Especially when the team jumped out to a 45-0 lead in that first half, at least from my perspective, calling the game, it seemed like for several of those throws you had all kinds of time, which is nice considering that 2/3 of your offensive line is brand new coming into the season.
Yeah, it's always a nice thing to have big boys up front.
And your receiving core, Tirone Morris, according to my calculations, had 5 touchdowns. A.J. Harris with 3, but you also had Jamal Stokes and Terry Jackson working in. So you have an experienced and exciting wide receiving core to work with this year. I think Tirone Morris was kind of forgotten last year with how big of a year Kevin Concepcion had. And Tirone had 22 touchdown catches last year.
Right. All the receivers are able to get open at any time. They're all pretty well equipped when it comes to that department. As far as Tirone, he played his butt off tonight, and can't really complain with the performance he put up.
I was talking with your head coach, Shawn Liotta. Now you hit the road against Johnstown, and then you're home for 6 consecutive games. So looking forward to that. Talk about what's forthcoming here for the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully W's. W. That's all we want.
Now you're 1-0. 81-7 the win. Colton Hansen, 8 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown for the cherry on top at the end of the game, with an Explosion 81-7 win. Thanks for your time, Colton.
Hey, thank you.
Here with Tirone Morris in his second season with the Erie Explosion. Had a big game. Just got confirmation, 5 touchdown receptions. Colton Hansen, your quarterback, had 8 touchdown passes, and you and this receiving core, you come back kind of as at least the leader from last year, because you had a big season last year, yards from scrimmage with the kick returns and the 22 touchdowns and 734 yards receiving. But you and Jamal Stokes, A.J. Harris, Terry Jackson, a big game in the wide receiving core.
Right. I like this core we have because everybody can stretch the field at any time. We can use anybody to stretch the field at any time. And last year, we had good receivers, but no particular person could stretch the field and have other guys underneath and catch the ball. So, I like this core.
And as a unit, Coach Liotta was disappointed with a couple things, but I think as a whole, with 2/3 of a brand new offensive line, Colton making his first start, although I think a lot of people knew last year that, if Adam DeMichael had gone down, that Colton Hansen could pick up right where he left off at any time. But overall, considering he put up 81 points on the board, pretty impressive for the first game of the season for this offense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I thought last year that Colt at any time could come in and we wouldn't miss a beat. I always thought that about Colt. So coming in, he's the one of the reason I came back. He called me up and said, "I'm coming back to Erie. What are you doing?" So I was like, "Okay, I'm there. I'm on board." But this game, the first game of the season, is for us to work out some kinks.
Yeah.
So we were really rusty in the beginning. So 81 points is a good score, but that's kind of a modest score for us.
I think you ask any team or any head coach, there's always things that you can work on, even in a game like this. But you didn't turn the ball over as an offensive unit, and again, at times, even some one-play scoring drives after you guys would get the ball back, and the defense, of course, got the football back for you several times, even scored twice tonight.
Mm-hmm. Well, defense, we always had a good defense. Like even last year, they scored a lot of points for us. But this year, I'm excited by our defense because we got taller DBs. Our defensive line is like dominating, of course, as you saw. So, I'm really excited about the entire team, really.
And one last thing, I liked some of the choreographed celebrations with the entire team. And also, you took a pretty good shot on one of the touchdowns in the right corner where you got thrown over the boards. And it looks like you had even a little cut there. Did that happen on that play? Or was
that happened in practice.
That happened in practice. There you go. But the celebrations were a lot of fun. That's the one thing you like about indoor football is you can do those types of things.
And not that we're just doing it for ourselves. We do it for the fans.
Yeah.
We know fans like to see celebrations and stuff like that. But it's the first game of the season. You got a lot more coming, I'll tell you that.
All right. Got a little wink there. Out of Tyrone Morris, 5 touchdowns, 81-7 win. Thanks for your time.
All right, man. Thank you.